Hey guys, this is Matt. Before anyone gets mad at me, I don't hate Young Justice Outsiders. It's not a bad show. There are plenty of things that I do like about this season, and I will talk about the things I liked, but that doesn't stop Outsiders from being a disappointment and from having a lot of problems. I mean, getting this show back meant a lot to a lot of people, so it's important that we talk about these problems. Now, I've seen some people saying that since we're lucky to get this show back at all, that we shouldn't be hating on Outsiders because they fought an uphill battle to get the show. We should be grateful to have it back at all. And I've been thinking about that, and I've decided that I really don't give a damn. So I'll start with the things I liked, just to be courteous, I guess. Alright, so Dick Grayson on this show is perfect. In fact, it's probably my favorite adaptation of Dick Grayson ever. It's way better than what they're doing on live action Titans. It's better than what they're doing in the comics. It's like these guys probably understand Grayson better than anyone else at the moment. It's like he's a good guy. He's not a psychopath. He's not overly violent. He's like kind of like everyone's big brother, but at the same time, he's not a pussy. He can be very assertive when he needs to. He can be edgy when he needs to. He has a spine. So this season is worth watching for Dick Grayson alone. All the returning characters from seasons 1 and 2 are good. Superboy, I mean, it's not my favorite version of Superboy. I kind of prefer the more brash, hot-headed version from the 90s, but he's okay. Artemis is okay. Even McGann, who was by far my least favorite of the original team, even she's all right this season. So pretty much everyone from the first two seasons, when they get focus, they're fine. I think the comedy of the season is decent for the most part. Not all of it works, but most of it does. A lot of modern comics writers have trouble with comedic writing, but these guys usually know how to do it, even if it's not perfect. There are plenty of episodes this season that I really liked. Private Security was great. Trip Tech was great. Nightmare Monkeys was mostly good. It had some cringy parts, but I liked it overall. And what was it? Oh, and Away Mission was good. So those are some of the best Young Justice episodes, regardless of season. I like how the show is intended for a mature audience. I'm not necessarily talking about the gore or anything, or the strong violence. I like how it isn't dumbed down the way lots of modern cartoons are. And I will say I was pretty invested in the story of the show up until the last 4 episodes, because that's when I realized what this season is trying to be. It's not really Young Justice Season 3. It's an Outsiders TV show disguised as Young Justice Season 3. And I know you might say I shouldn't say disguised because it's right there in the title, but still, it's billed as Young Justice. But it's not really about Young Justice. They made it clear that these new guys, the Outsiders, they're not the team. They're not part of the team this show is supposed to be about. Yet they're the central focus of the series. It's like they brought this show back without focusing on the characters of that show. Without focusing on any of the characters people actually wanted back. And I'm like, am I the only person who notices what's wrong with that? Am I insane to think that Young Justice Season 3 should actually be about Young Justice? And I know that's a bit weird considering that this show has never had anything to do with the comics Young Justice, but I think my point gets across. And it's not that these new characters are necessarily bad, at least not all of them are. I mean, Geoforce is fine, Halo is fine, Black Lightning is fine, even though he doesn't get much screen time. Forager, I could take or leave, he's mostly just comic relief. So it's not that these particular new guys are bad, it's just that I got sick of them really quickly because they're very one note. It's like, Geoforce is angry, Halo is innocent, Forager always speaks in the third person, so these guys should not be the central focus. They are not even close to the most interesting, deep characters they could have chosen. And again, they're not the team. They flat out said these guys are their own thing, and I can't imagine why they brought the show back. And I think I said I can't imagine, but I lied. I think that somewhere in the creative process, egos got involved. I don't know if it was the writers or the higher ups at the studio, but I think some people with very big egos wanted their own pet characters to be the focus this season. That's what I believe happened. Now, do the showrunners have the right to make these guys, the outsiders, the focus of this season? Of course they do. But just because they can do something doesn't mean they should. Okay? We know this by now. We've known this since 1993. Or not 93, whatever year the book actually came out. But, what else? Let me consult my notes. Yeah, yes, I take notes, and I look at them when recording these videos to keep me concentrated. Okay, it's not just the outsiders themselves that are bugging me. The show's number one problem, ever since the second season, they are addicted to adding characters. It's like they're trying to squeeze in the entire DCU. And as someone who loves the DCU, that isn't a bad thing on paper, but but it just doesn't really work. They're trying to do too much in a very small time frame. Okay, you've got this army of heroes. Most of them are horribly underdeveloped, and yet instead of developing all the guys that they've already introduced, they just have to keep adding new guys. And some of them are quite good, okay? These guys, the people writing this show, even when they're writing someone I don't particularly care for, they have a decent grasp of who they are. It's just they don't know how to slow down and focus on someone, all right? I mean, and a lot of people are saying they did the same thing in season 2, all right? They sidelined the original 6 members in order to focus on these new guys. I didn't like it then either, all right? I think they tried to do way too much in season 2 also, and I didn't want them to replicate this mistake in season 3. And on top of that, something I noticed very quickly is that the best episodes of the show, the ones I mentioned earlier, are the ones that focus on heroes from the first 2 seasons, okay? Like Private Security focused on Roy, Network Monkeys focused on Beast Boy. So it's like the slowest episodes are the ones that focus on the season 3 editions. The good ones focus on the heroes from seasons 1 and 2. I think this means something. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think that means something. So they made a pretty big mistake making it all about the outsiders. And you're probably going to be like, well, what do you expect? It's called Young Justice Outsiders. And I'm like, they didn't call it outside. They didn't make it. The idea for the season came before the title, okay? It's called Outsiders because they chose to make it about the outsiders. So that's not kind of a non-argument, honestly. And again, I don't hate all of these new guys, okay? At least the ones I mentioned. Things fell apart for me when they brought in Cyborg, and I know that's kind of a nitpick because he's not one of the main characters, but he's already had more dialogue than most of the season 2 editions, so I think I have the right to get angry. Cyborg is he's the male Harley Quinn. He's a decent character who was ruined by constant overexposure, so I was really angry when I found out that instead of developing these guys from season 2, okay, we still know almost nothing about this new Robin, we still know next to nothing about Wonder Girl, we don't know anything about, they brought in Arrowette, Stephanie Brown, Cassandra Cain, Tracy 13. I'd love to get to know more about these guys. Static Shock. They could have focused on any of these guys, all right? All of them are badly underexposed, but instead they decide to focus on the most overexposed character ever, Cyborg, and they don't do anything new with him. It's the same beats we've already seen a million times. So I probably shouldn't be so mad since he's not the main cast, but it still bugged me in its own way. It's like, focus on the the Bat family characters. Okay, focus on Robin and Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain. These guys have real untapped potential, and I'm sure the showrunners understand them. They could do great stuff with them, but nope. Let's retread the exact same Cyborg storyline all over again and have more scenes of Geoforce being angry and more scenes of Forager not understanding how to speak in the first person. So you guys can understand where my anger is coming from, right? And then there was this episode towards the end of this. I think it was like episode 10 or something. It's called Another Freak, and it's the first episode of Young Justice that I've straight up disliked. Like, up until then, even when I wasn't a huge fan of the episode, even when I had problems, I never hated a single episode of Young Justice. This is the first one I flat out hated. It was so bad that I had to start fast forwarding parts, and I only missed like 60 seconds total. It's not like I fast forwarded a significant, but that's something I never do. Okay, even when I hate something, I make a point to watch it all the way through. The fact that this episode was so bad, had me hitting the fast forward button, that is saying a lot. So but I mean, again, it goes to show how that the quality of Young Justice is generally good, that I haven't hated an episode until now. So again, I'm not trying to destroy this show or anything. I'm just being honest. All right. Oh, and also another thing that pissed me off towards the end, they're doing the Judas contract again. And again, why this? Why are they doing the Judas? We've already seen it twice in animation before. Most recently, it was like 2 years ago, like one of those DC animated films was the Judas contract. So we saw it then. We saw it in the Teen Titans cartoons. So why the fuck are they doing it now? Again, you got all these characters and all these potential storylines that haven't been done before, or at very least haven't been done very well before in adaptations. You could be doing so much, but instead they're choosing to just retread these beats we've already seen. This is not... I can't condone this. This is not good storytelling. And I also feel like the animation and the designs are a downgrade from the first two seasons. The action is passable, but it's nothing to write home about. I mean, for a Western cartoon, it's not terrible for a Western cartoon. And I know these kinds of shows are usually animated in like Korea or someplace, so iffy on the Western part. But it's not bad enough to ruin the show. But I am disappointed. And then it's time to address the elephant in the room, or in this case, the redheaded stepchild in the room. Wally is still dead. We're halfway through this season, and he's still dead. Now, a lot of people are saying they need to keep him dead for a while in order for his death to have any impact. Now, putting aside the method of how he died, let's look at some figures here. He's been dead for 1 year in this show's timeline. He's been dead for 6 years in the real world, and we're halfway through this season. It's been long enough for his death to have meant something, so now just bring his fucking ass back to life. The thing is, I mean, he probably is going to make a return, at least by the season finale, but it's too late for him to have a significant amount of screen time this season. And the reason that bugs me is because he had virtually no screen time in season 2. They basically cut him out of the show's main cast. They reduced him to cameos for all but one episode, and then they brought him back in the finale just to kill him off. So they already treated him like shit during season 2. I don't know how anyone can argue with that. And then they decide to do the same fucking thing in season 3. And it's like, alright, it would have been fine if they just keep him dead for the first half of the season. Alright, I get that some people want his death to mean something, but it's the halfway point, and they haven't even teased his return yet. So, if he does come back at the end, I'll still be happy, but they still screwed up by not having him back by the mid-season finale. And another reason this is a big deal, this is like the only place right now where we could get a decent Wally West. It's not happening in the comics, it's not happening on the Flash show, It's not happening anywhere else. So these Young Justice guys, they had their chance, but they put it off too long. So with my gripes out of the way, I think I'm done. Of course, I'm going to watch the rest of the season, and if they make another season after this, I'll probably watch that too, just because well, whether I like it or not, I am in a relationship with this series. It can be an abusive relationship at sometimes, but it's still a relationship. So yeah, I'll be watching the rest of the season. I hope it's good, but they have got a lot of work to do if they want to reverse my opinion. So thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe. Good night, everyone.